General Rob Bonta and his wife, Assemblymember Mia Bonta, are coming under increased scrutiny. As we first reported last week, Assemblymember Mia Bonta is set to lead a state budget committee that oversees her husband's budget at the Department of Justice. This has raised ethical questions, and now we're following up with state leaders. KCRA 3's Capitol correspondent Ashley Zavala broke this story and again this week brought this issue to state lawmakers and the governor. So Ashley, how are they responding?
Edie, since our report came out, Assemblymember Mia Bonta has blamed racism and sexism for the ethics questions raised as a result of this situation, but she's not responded to our requests since last week. Both she and Speaker Anthony Rendon, who appointed her to this position, see no problem with it, noting the budget goes through several sets of eyes. We sent a survey to all members of the legislature. We also caught up with the governor on this today. Here's a look at how they responded. Big questions surrounding the Bontas. Assemblymember Mia Bonta and her husband, Attorney General Rob Bonta, at the center of ethical scrutiny, with Mia set to lead a budget committee that oversees her husband's budget. Experts note this is legal. We sent a survey to the entire California legislature asking this question: is it ethical for Assemblymember Mia Bonta to serve as the chair of this committee? In the 80-member assembly, 14 said yes, 5 said no, and 59 would not comment. In the Senate, the overwhelming majority of that House would not weigh in, with 3 lawmakers saying no and 1 saying yes. Republican Assemblyman Joe Patterson, who serves on the Budget Committee with Bonta, said in a statement, "No, irrespective of her ability to remain fair and impartial, the reality is there is a risk that the public may lose trust in its ability to provide fair and transparent oversight of our government agencies." Assemblyman Robert Rivas, who is expected to lead the assembly as speaker later this summer, said yes, it's ethical, in a statement saying, quote, "Assemblymember Mia Bonta brings a great deal of talent and a track record of distinguished public service to her role as chair of Budget Subcommittee number 5 on public safety. Representing the city of Oakland, where gun violence disproportionately has ravaged communities of color, Assemblymember Bonta has made public safety a top legislative priority during her tenure in the legislature. I support Speaker Anthony Rendon's decision to appoint her to this important role."
I think the legislature likes to protect their own members. And so they're obviously going to, as long as she is digging her heels in, there will be very few legislators who are going to publicly say she should step down.
Bob Stern is the former general counsel for California's Fair Political Practices Commission.
I mean, I'm just really puzzled by the fact that they continue to defend themselves.
We also learned Attorney General Rob Bonta's office provides an online ethics training course to state officials. The training is public. The first section highlights the importance of government officials appearing ethical, even if what they're doing is legal.
This for decades in California.
We asked Governor Gavin Newsom to weigh in on this entire situation. Do you think it looks good to the taxpayer for an assembly member who is also the wife of the Attorney General to lead a committee that oversees his budget and other departments?
I literally don't know what you're referring to.
Assemblymember Mia Bonta is set to lead the Budget Sub-5 Committee on Public Safety. I mean, the Attorney General oversees ethics in the state, distributes ethics training to state officials.
I'm just telling you, I thank you for informing me. The legislature makes their determination. I have no idea.
You don't, is it ethical or
I don't
not?
even know what you're referring to. I'm hearing it for the first time.
We want to note the governor is a completely separate branch of state government, so he has no direct control over the situation. But we will point out that he did appoint Rob Bonta to this position when there was a vacancy in the Attorney General's office, and ultimately helped, elevate him as the election was going, which ultimately got Rob Bonta elected to this position.
I think one of the things that's interesting is as her defenders are answering these questions, it's an issue of, but she's a good person. And when you look at ethics training as you did, that's not the question, whether somebody is a good person or not a good person. It's whether the issue itself, whether having a wife in charge of a husband in a very important position in charge of that budget. So it's not looking at an individual or judging it on that basis. It's whether the situation is ethical. So given that, what is the Attorney General himself saying about this?
I mean, the Attorney General continues to not comment on any of this, and he continues to kick back to the Assembly, noting that this is where the decisions are made. But, we've posed the question to the Attorney General's office, does he not speak with his wife? Do they not talk at the dinner table? I mean, ultimately, they're making decisions decisions as a family, or one could presume. But we have not heard back on that question.
In the
either.
meantime, there are just days now between now and when she would take a...
Yeah, the next hearing is going to be at the end of this month. And one thing I do want to mention for taxpayers, for voters, we do have an interactive guide right now on our website where you can search your state lawmaker, as your senator, your state assembly member, to see how they voted or not in our poll. So we have that online, and we will continue to follow the story. The Assembly has floor session tomorrow morning, and we will be there.
We know that they've certainly pushed back on this. Ashley, thank you for asking the questions. They are important.